wherever it is where you are. Stephen Ladders and I are happy to be able to take part in Roots and Resilience today on Earth Day. I will post some resources in the chat, which you'll be able to save by using the share button at the bottom of the chat panel, and we'll take questions at the end. So let's get straight onto it. As you probably know, certainly everybody here on the screen, but those that we're streaming to won't necessarily. Permaculture is an ethical design system that can be applied to all kinds of things, from business systems to garden design, organizations to individuals. In all of our designs, we apply earth care, people care, and fair share ethics. And our designs usually always start with the individual's needs. It's those individuals we want to address today. In drafting a design, we use zoning to manage it. If I share my screen, I'll show you. Could I share my screen, guys? We use zoning to manage where we place our resources and systems. Here we go. Grab a pen. So think of a bunch of concentric circles. There's you in your house in the middle. Is a dodgy house. Can you see this, everyone? Bunch of concentric circles, and these are the zones. Oh, went through there, but never mind. So we use the zones to manage where we place our resources and systems. So think of it as you in the middle and the zones moving out in increasing circles. We typically place our most important or used resources nearer where we are in the middle. That is zone 1, 2, 3, 4, out to 5. Oh, I didn't put that in there. Sometimes you don't have that many. And we work out to those least visited resources further out into the mix. They won't necessarily, they could be like all kinds of shapes, and you can have blobs of 3 in amongst 2 of various, but it doesn't matter for the minute. The important thing that we're going to look at right now is this guy here in the middle. He's zone 0, it's you. So you need to, when you're talking about a permaculture system, we need to understand our own needs. That sort of thing. So zone 0, the center, is where our own needs, beliefs, and patterns reside. By tending to and harvesting from our personal sustainability, we're then able to share our resources with others to greater effect. So one of the first things we need to address is to be sure that our needs are being met. What are our needs? Apart from food and sustenance, key needs are being, your well-being, your work-life balance. If you're happy in your vacation and good happens, health is up, stress is down. And then we get to the sort of thing of, well, how do you find the right vocation, the right role in life, a role in life? So Steve, if you're there, there's a great technique we'd like to share with you to help you look at that in particular, and we'll pick up more zone 0 after that. So, Steve, are you there? If not, I might.
Hi.
Hi. Right.
It's going to be a little bit windy. Just so you know where I am, I'm in, let me see if I can. So I'm in Iceland. I've been here since August. And the reason I got here is because I followed a thing called Ikigai.
It's really hard to hear you, Steve.
Japanese philosophy. Really? Because it's windy.
I think
Can you
your
hear me,
internet connection as well is like
Okay. Let me just,
you're freezing a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Steve's connection is not so good, unfortunately. Okay, do you want to continue?
All right. Let me stop my video.
Yep.
Is this better?
Yes.
That's better now, yeah.
Okay, so basically it's a thing called Ikigai, yeah? Maybe it's best if Steve, you could share screen.
I'll share the screen, yes.
The presentation. Is it better now? Yes, so you still can't hear me, yeah?
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Cool. Go with it, Steve. I think we lost him, haven't we?
Or maybe we lost Steve. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back. So Ikigai, a reason for being, life's purpose. It's split up into a kind of a triple Venn diagram. The first thing we need to address is what we love. And what we need is, what you need to do really, and I should have said up front, is get yourself a piece of paper and write down all the things that you love. And then, so in Steve's case, gardening, dance, finance, numbers, sports, building, talking, music, could be all kinds of things, not necessarily related to your permaculture, growing, that sort of thing. It's about you. So what are the things that you love? And the next is, what are the things that we're good at? All kinds of things. In Steve's case, growing food, painting, drawing, guitar, storytelling, carpentry, endurance sports, documentation, and he loves his video games. So that's the next stage. So that's your second list. The third thing is what we can be paid for. And when I say paid, we're talking probably not necessarily monetarily, but it could be payment in kind, whatever. So what are the things we can be paid for? In Steve's case, market gardening, programmer, art commissions, an entertainer, a teacher, builder, professional athlete, office admin, all kinds of things. The list could, all of our lists will be different. So we've got 3 lists. And then the fourth one, you've got to think about what the world needs. So this could be the big wide world. It could be your world. So it could be your local town, the area where you live, or perhaps where you visit. Or if you've got a big, bigger ideas, what can you do in a global way? So what can you be paid for? Organizing things, building structures, providing guidance. Your list will be different. Bringing joy, giving education, providing growth, what the world needs. And it's your perspective of your world in your area. So we bring all those 4 things together in Ikigai, and we're aiming for that spot in the middle over here. So we're trying to find an overlap for all of these things. So you build all these different lists in your Venn diagram, put them in there, and then you're looking to see where they overlap and build those. Now our mission, between what we love and what the world needs. Our vocation, what we could be paid for and what the world needs. Our profession, what we're good at and what can be paid for. And our passion, what we're good at and what we love. If we're lucky, we'll find one in the middle. Our Ikigai. So in the resources, I'll post at the end, there are links to all of these graphics and the rest of what I'm going to be talking about, so you can pick it up then. So if you're trying to draw these things out or write them down, don't worry. It all came from a book, Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long, Happy Life, by Hector Garcia. And there are a number of YouTube videos on the web as well, and they're in the resources. So Ikigai. If you have any questions about this, we'll get to it in a sec. Stop the share. Let's see if we get to the next stage. So I'm juggling things to sharing from different resources. So bear with me a second, I'll get the next thing up. So there we had our zones. We figured out you in the middle. Perhaps an idea of what your new role in life might be, because it might not match where you are at the moment, but it's going to give you an idea of where you want to go to. Now we need to find a way of using that, if we've got that wrong, to build your permaculture site, if you like. So Ness and I did this here. We started off between us independently, making a list of our wants and needs. So Ness came up with a list of 5. I came up with a list of 4, but I cheated because I put sub-lists in there. But in essence, it was maintaining our health and fitness, making Akantut, which is where we live here, sustainable and self-sufficient for resources, and for resources to leave ready for potential offspring residents. We're of an age when, well, I've got a grandchild, children have gone and left us, so we're empty nesters, if you like, but we're thinking about making this place something for someone in the future, if you like. So food forest, that sort of thing, sustainable. Family can come in and use it, and setting it up for that. We're here for the long term. It's our last move. Ness wanted to reduce the clutter, simplify life, maintaining things, that sort of thing, live with minimal adverse impact on her environment. Mine was very much the same. So I pulled these things together, and here's my phone. And we came up with the statement. Oh, moving thing. Wrong button. So Stephen Ness at Akantut, living life in a sustainable, regenerative way, maintaining the health and fitness of nearest and dearest, in order to leave Akantut to the next generation in as healthy and viable state as possible for supporting the family and environment. That's our like a modus operandi here. That's what we'll test everything about against. And then we burst out to another level. There's the blue bubbles. Move that over there a bit. Can you see them? And so what we decided in these blue bubbles, they're like core values, if you like, if you're familiar with that term. So these are the tests when we start a project or do something. Do they meet one or more of these things? So here's one: we are financially viable. Probably not at the moment, but we're going to work on that. We've got some stuff to do. We are producing our own food. Well, not quite yet, but we've got some stuff to do. But in an ideal world, this is what we're aiming for. And when we get there, these things might change. This isn't set in stone. And I'll tell you a little bit about this technique, but I thought it'd be good to paint out the picture first. We're generating our own energy resources. We're supporting offspring dependents to give them the best start. and I've got family and animals as odd bubbles. The next level out from the blue ones will change all the time, but those are the things that are driving us at the moment. And I'll share this image in the resources as well, so you can get an idea about how it works. So each time we get a project, basically we'll sit down and have an assessment and figure out whether we're doing the right thing or not. If there's a big decision coming up, we can see this is how we want to live our life. Is it going to work for us? It works really well. So let me share with you where this comes from. It's called holistic decision making, or HDM. It's a method pulled together by an Australian permaculturist called Dan Palmer. Some of you might have heard of, and he applies it to his home life and his business as well. We've just done our home life here, but it can very easily apply to a business. And so what you do is you'll have a regular meeting and you'll work your way around. In fact, I work with Permaculture Scotland, and we're working on the strategy for it. And we had a couple of workshops with Dan to use this in setting the strategy for Permaculture Scotland. So what we aim to do is, when we get together for our meetings, we'll work around the light blue, the outer set of rings, having established the inner one is pretty fixed, we hope. And we will test where we are in certain aspects of the way we're managing that particular circle in Permaculture Scotland. And we'll go around all of this and we'll sort of tick positively or, you know, negatively or not sure on particular circles, and those with the most X's are the areas where we need to spend most of our efforts, and we can pass our backs on for the ones that have the most ticks. I can probably share with you the Permaculture Scotland Working Group one, so you can see it in action. Anyway, get back to Dan Palmer. I had the good fortune to join the workshop with him. As I said, we're doing the Permaculture Scotland stuff. And Ness and I decided that it would be a good thing to introduce to Ness to see if she thinks it would work. We've really got to put it into action yet. It's the date on this is January 2021, so it hasn't been going very long, but we're quite excited about it. The HDM is built, it is developed from a number of different sources, and I put all that sort of thing into the resources because I thought it would be a bit deep to go into it at this stage. But let's show you the Permaculture Scotland Working Group, because it's an open group. It opens up. Show you what theirs looks like. Look, if I whiz along there.
I'll just give you a heads up for the time, Steve. You've got 10 minutes left.
Okay, how long have I got?
10 minutes.
Great, so we'll go with some questions soon. Zoom in. So there we are. Can you see this? Sorry, it's a messy screen. The Permaculture Scotland Working Group. It's part of the Permaculture Association Britain, but it's a separate circle to deal with things in Scotland. So it's a living resource that facilitates opportunities for the Scottish Permaculture Network in a way that enriches teaching, learning and practice in order for Scotland's communities to build resilience through regenerative design. It's a big one. You have to take a deep breath before you read it out, but you know, it gives us our direction, if you like. And then if we go back out to the core things, and we put letters on them when we have a meeting, we'll just work our way through the letters. Funnily enough, we are financially viable is up there. Permaculture Scotland is abundantly funding to meet its ambitions. Well, there's work to be done there, but we're working our way around. We're developing a distinctive and coherent package of resources. We've been engaging public presence and are visible. So you can see, you work your way around these things, how we can actually manage it and focus our energies on a particular area. It's quite lightweight in text, which will please Rakesh, I should think, but it works and it gives you lots of action. So I'm going to nip back to the one that Ness and I have done again, but I just wanted to show you how it can work in business. This is pretty easy to do, but the middle one, we're just basically writing up who we are and what we want in life. And the blue one's on the outside, the next level out, how we want to sort of measure things. It may be that one of them doesn't really matter. We're producing our own food. We'll get to that stage and really it doesn't need to be there. And it might turn into something else, or it might just disappear. So this is a kind of a moving thing, but it's a great way of if it works for you, for managing it. Dan Palmer's family, including the kids, are involved in putting his together. And, when they work their way through, if there's a big project that the family have got to do, they test it against what they want to do. And if they find actually they need to change this, they'll just get tucked in and do it. But they always make sure they're not running off and doing something that doesn't really fit in with the group. You could apply this to a community as well. If you were talking, Sophie, about land use and that sort of stuff, and where you've got communities and that sort of thing, it's a neat way of trying to manage that. And I think it probably works reasonably well in sociocracy perspective, just to give some guidance about how you work through the various areas. So there we are, stop sharing. And whilst I dig out the resources, have we got any questions? I'm quiet. Let me dig out the resources. Fine. Post them in the chat. Oh, we're going to have 2 hits posting into the chat. I don't know if you noticed on the chat thing, if you've used it, there's 3 dots there at the bottom. Let me go and get the other half of this. You can save the chat so you've got it locally on your device, whether it's PC or a tablet or whatever. Get the last bit. I hope it wasn't too rushed. Rather thrown by Steve not coming in. But yeah, any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you're using the holistic decision making as a group, like what's the process that you use to kind of form that central vision and then the kind of priorities around it?
Bit of chin wagging, to be honest. Okay. I think we've had about 3 or 4 iterations of, we all went about and set our own set of words up, and we basically did what Ness and I did and came up with our own ideas and then just pulled them all together so that we could come up with something that covered each of the aspects that we all felt that was important. And we signed it off between us all because we were comfortable with what it said. But it's gone through 3 or 4 iterations, I think, to do that. And that was over a course of several meetings, really. Because we're all volunteers, it takes a little while to get things done. But I think you could probably rattle through this in a well, let's say a couple of weeks or something like that. It would be heavy trying to get it blasted in a day, I would think, because you'll get driven down particular paths, and it's good to take a break from things sometimes and come back to it. The diagrams, Miro, And for scribbling in, it's a good collaborative tool. You can use, I think you can have 3 diagrams in it for the free version. I haven't come across another one, perhaps Rakesh has, that you can use it for. Sorry, I haven't come across another one you can use for free like that.
Can you write them down? I can't hear what you're saying properly.
Write what down, sorry?
Those programs, what they're called.
It's called Miro. Rakesh has put it in the chat. So if you go down to the bottom of the chat to the 3 dots and do save chat, you'll collect all the information we put in there.
Yeah, Miro is really good at what it does. So if anyone's seen the presentation I made for the community forest garden in Valentine's Park, I was using Miro for that. And it's really good if you understand technology. If you're not comfortable with technology, it can be a nightmare. It's really very easy to make huge mistakes and move people's things all over the place. And yes, you end up having to lock everything down. Yeah, because otherwise things just go missing really quickly and easy. But if you get it, it's fantastic. Really very creative, really. And I haven't seen anything that comes close to it. In all my travels around looking at different softwares, I've never seen anything similar that is as complete as that.
In the old days, I used to use an overhead projector and foils, and I'd be able to draw on it and present on the top, and it's the only thing I found that you can do much the same thing where I did the concentric circles. It's quite a neat way of presenting stuff and being dynamic about it.
I mean, Zoom
Rakesh, what was that thing that you used?
Zoom
Sorry,
has
I was just going to ask about that.
Sorry, go on, Gray.
Sorry, I was going to ask you what you used when we were doing the planning session for the reggae course, because it was like a very scaled down, very simplified version of this with different slides. But I couldn't remember what the name of it was. It was a type of whiteboard thing.
Is it Jamboard, maybe?
Jamboard, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, very, 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 very basic.
Yeah. Just a super basic version of it, basically.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's nothing like. I mean, Miro is like totally different scale. But yeah, Jamboard, it's okay. It is very easy to use. That's one good thing about Jamboard.
Well, we're done with questions.
Oh.
I hope you found it useful. And there's lots of stuff, as I say, in the resources. So thank you very much.
Wonderful.
After the break, I've invited Sunil to come and do the talk on my behalf because, to be honest, as I say, I was out in the garden working, and now that I've sat down and I'm fasting, now all of a sudden I just want to sleep. I'm just like, oh, my body's saying, ooh. So what I was going to say is basically it's a kind of real follow on from what Steve has shown us, where Sunil and I have created a course called A Holistic Life Design, where we quite literally do things like this, like the Ikigai. We'll use different tools, like for those who know what prana is, so looking at this balance between our mental, physical and spiritual realms. We'll use Sunil is a naturopath, so we'll be using naturopathy but using permaculture to look at our bodies as systems, and looking at inputs and outputs, and how each system within our bodies works, and how we find a balance, how we know it's working, how we know it's not working, and then using naturopathy of how can we find that balance again, and using the Prana tool to find balance. So we can then use permaculture to make a full design of how to really bring, you know, real happiness and joy and physical well-being to ourselves. So it's something we've done several times now, and it's amazing. It's just really the most wonderful experience, because it, you know, rather than just saying, yeah, I'm going to give up doing this, I'm going to start doing that, I'm going to exercise more, I'm going to do, which, let's face it, just doesn't happen. Here, what we do is we identify those things and we put them into a design so that they stack functions, so that they're not out of our way. They're just, you know, so if anyone understands desire lines, you know, your desire line is to go from here to here. But if you kind of make it like this, people won't take it. You know, if you make a pathway that's too far, they're going to just cut across. So you can make a desire line that's a little bit more, just a little bit out of your way, but okay. And so this is how we design. We design so that we put a little bit of effort in, but just by going a little bit out of the way, it brings about a huge benefit. So yeah, so after the break, I'll invite Sunil to kind of talk about yeah, about that course and about what we're doing there, and maybe answer some questions, and maybe there's, you know, some other little gifts that he can just show you along the way as he's, yeah, I mean, Sunil, if you've never met Sunil, is amazing. He's really one of the most complete, balanced people you'll meet. So, and with a huge amount of knowledge, big heart, and really, it's a really pleasure to have Sunil here. So I think that's after the break, isn't it, Sophie?
Yeah, that's right. So we're kind of already a bit in the break. So yeah, it's at 1:45. So in, yeah, about 5 minutes now, 5, 6 minutes.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to stop the streaming.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, we've got a short break and we'll come back at 1:45. See you in a minute.